Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we're going to be taking a look at the G1000. Now the reason for this is many of you know I have created an A320 guide, a very detailed guide for anyone who doesn't know. If you're interested in learning the A320, it's extremely helpful. Goes from everything from creating your flight plan in SimBrief, which is a free application, to starting up the aircraft all the way to landing the aircraft. And it goes from Tucson International over to LAX, gives you step-by-step instructions. You actually don't really need anything other than the guide. It is that detailed. It walks you through every single thing and shows you where all the information was gathered from. If you're interested in that, you guys can either donate via the PayPal link down below. $10 or more will get you the guide, or you can subscribe to my Patreon site. Again, $10 or more. But the reason why I mention that is I have also started a TBM 930 guide. The A320 guide is still in development, but it's starting to get close to a point where I can start working on some other things. But anyway, I digress. So the purpose of that is the TBM 930 uses the G3000 suite. So my initial plan was to do a G3000 and TBM 930 guides basically in tandem, side by side. But then I got to thinking, I was like, well, it doesn't make much sense to do a G3000 guide without doing the G1000, because if you know the G1000, then that extremely simplifies the G3000 when you move up into it. And since many of the GA aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator use the G1000, I was like, well, what the hell, let's just start there. So that's what we're going to do today. So without further any yapping on from me, let's jump on into it. Alright, so obviously the first thing we need to do is just start the aircraft up. So let's go ahead and get rid of these yokes. Fuel is on. Let's go ahead and get the batteries going. Beacon on, nav light on. Start priming the fuel pumps. Let's clear the warning light. Clear the warning, or clear the fuel pump primer. Alright, we're live. I should have had to crack the throttle, but that's alright. Oh, it looks like it was cracked a little bit. Okay, now let's get our avionics switches on. Alright, now before we get into the G1000, I want to preface this with, first off, I am using a mod provided by Working Title. A link will be in the description below to this. They have both the G1000 and G3000 suites that are updated. If you want all the functionality that you're about to see in today's tutorial, I highly recommend you download that mod, because there will be some things that aren't available to you without it. It's very lightweight, very simple to install, and brings a ton of features to many aircraft, again, as many of them use the G1000. I'm not going to go over every single thing in detail today. I will tell you what it does, but actually seeing its functionality, some of that may wait till later videos. Okay, we're going to be doing quite a few back to back. Everything you see here will be in the guide, and just so you guys understand, for those of you who saw this before and have heard all this news before, this is just one folder of many for the G1000. Everything's going to be screenshot in very strict detail, breaking everything down for you guys step by step. So again, if these are things you're interested in, consider subscribing to the Patreon site. The reason why I recommend Patreon over the donation at this point is once the second guide comes out, $10 gets you access to 2 guides right there, and then as more and more come out. So anyway, moving on. Let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing I'm going to do is go over just the inlay of the screen, and then we'll go over the knobs and dials all around it. Okay, so starting up at the top here, Starting up at the top here, we have our nav radio frequencies, both standby and active. So we have the standby frequencies here for nav 1 and nav 2, and the active frequencies on the right. Over here is our FMA. Gosh, if I can remember what the flight management alert. I can't remember what the A stands for. Anyway, so what it tells you is up here you would have your currently selected waypoint with a distance to the waypoint and bearing. Down here we would have our different autopilot modes. It would tell us if we were in heading mode, nav mode, flight director, or VNAV, excuse me. VNAV would be listed over here, or vertical speed, excuse me. You would have your feet per minute, etc., etc. So all your autopilot information would be listed down here on this bottom line. We have our bank angle here and bank indicator right here with this white triangle here. Our pitch scale. You have your current flight path indicators. The yellow triangles indicate your vertical flight path. Obviously the yellow ones on the outside indicate your bank angle. Here we have our speed tape, true airspeed indicated airspeed up here, obviously in knots per hour. On the right hand side we have our altimeter tape, target altitude set by the altimeter knob down below. Our current ascent or descent rate in hundreds of feet per minute, current altitude according to sea level, and barometric pressure setting. Current course designator for the selected nav system, so this will change based on whether it is VOR 1 or 2, ADF, or GPS. GPS, we cannot change this as that is entered either, it's pulling that data from either our flight plan or, for example, the ILS frequencies. Current heading bug indicator. So you can see our heading bug indicator right here. This would be used for the autopilot mode. If we were on heading mode, wherever we have this set to or this set to, the aircraft would begin to turn to that direction. Okay, here we have our current nav lines. You can see we're currently selected for VOR 1. We have our inset map here, okay, which is a miniature map. We do have some functionality there that I'll show you guys later. Outside temperature currently showing 9 degrees Celsius. Transponder code, the mode it's in, standby, and local time. All right, and then on the background here, although that just may look like a pretty picture, that's actually a synthetic terrain map. This is actually the taxi line out in front of us, and that's the taxiway up here. All right, and we can turn that on and off, and I'll show you guys that in just a minute. There you can see the mountains in the background, etc. All right, so now let's get into some of the controls here. Obviously, here we have our volume knob for the nav1 and nav2 radios, our transfer button that allows us to switch frequencies. The bottom rotary here will change the standby frequency whole number. Top rotary changes the decimal, and pushing on the top rotary will switch between radios 1 and 2. Now, it's important to remember this is the exact same functionality on the right-hand side. Volume knob, transfer button. Bottom one changes the whole number frequency, top number changes decimal, and tap it to switch between the different comm radios. Other than that, from here on down, they get different. Here we have that heading bug that I was telling you guys about. We rotate this, we can change the heading bug location. Give it a quick push, and it will automatically align it to your current heading. All right, let's try that one more time. That looks like it's a little off, but definitely handy. And here we have our autopilot functionality or option buttons. AP button, this will engage or disengage the autopilot. Here's our flight directors. Again, all of this turns them on or off. Heading mode, altimeter mode, or altitude mode. So this will either hold the current altitude or attack an altitude that we set with the altimeter knob down below, which we'll get into in a second. And you can see that it's trying to do so. Turn that off for now. Now with the autopilot engaged here, you can see that you have your autopilot engaged. Roll and pitch mode are active. Nav will have the autopilot track the current nav source. VNav is our vertical navigation, again another way of acquiring our selected altitude. Vertical speed mode, same thing, allows us to acquire a set altitude, but with vertical speed we can actually set how quickly or not so quickly the aircraft will ascend or descend. And then flight level control allows us to attack a current altitude based on a current airspeed. However, it's important to remember that there is no auto throttle in this aircraft. So although the VNav lines with these purple indicators here will, or the flight directors, excuse me, will raise, we will, if we want to set, for example, 70 knots, we need to make sure we're adjusting our throttle accordingly to hold the 70 knot line. All right, and again, we'll see more of that as time goes on. The altitude knob allows us to change the altitude. Bottom rotor increases in thousands of feet. Top rotor increases in hundreds of feet. Give it a push, and it selects back to your... Oh, no, sorry. Give the altitude button a push, and it will reset it back to your current altitude. All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look down here at the bottom set of buttons, switches, etc. Coming down here to the bottom here, we have the inset, which is our inset map. So first we take to the options screen, we can turn it off. Simply hitting inset again will bring it back on. You can activate the topographical map. You can't see it right there because we're zoomed in too closely, but it's there. Or you can disable that, and then we can also turn our weather radar on. All right, going back for a minute. Moving over to the PFD, there's quite a few options here. First thing is the synthetic terrain. So if you were to go to synthetic visibility, turn the terrain off, we just get that typical brown and blue, brown for dirt, blue for sky. Turn it back on if you guys like to see it. I do like having the synthetic terrain on personally. Hit our back button. Wind. With wind, we have 3 options. It will display wind information here, and there are 3 different available options, and I will show you guys those right now. So option 1 here, as you can see here, will show you the speed of the wind and the directional impact it has against the aircraft. Option 2 gives you an arrow with the speed indicator. And option 3 will tell you direction, magnetic heading, and speed in knots of the wind. And then, of course, you can just turn that off if you so you choose as well. Coming back, DME. This will allow you to. This will give you distance and bearing information on, just distance and frequency information on a selected VOR. For example, if we were to turn to Tucson's VOR, remind me, it'd be 116. So if we were to come up here, and let's go back to nav1 for now, and turn 116. Come on, where are you? There you are. Oops. There we go. Give that a tap, and now you can see it. You can see again, there's a frequency, 2.4 nautical miles, and you can see what the required bank would be in order to capture that VOR. All right, but we could also change our course over here. Oops. Using the top knob. And if we needed to rotate it to a different direction, you can see that information is now available. Now the DME doesn't have to be on for this information to be active. That's fine. I just wanted to show you guys that all in one shot here, and we'll come back to this one in just a minute. All right, and then you have your bearing information. And again, 2.4 nautical miles TUS for Tucson, tracking nav1, and this is just the bearing mode icon for bearing 1. You have bearing 1, you have bearing 2. Okay, so you can simply change if we had a different one, nav2, we need both of them up, you'd have that information available. All right, so we can turn our bearing off. And bearing, you got to just sort of cycle until you clear all the different nav sources, and then we're back. HSI format. You can either have the 360-degree compass rose, or you can use the arc like you see in a lot of the airliners. All right, simple stuff there. Bearing 2 we just discussed. This is going to be one of those ones that I know for a fact is not available in default version, but is available with the G1000 mod. If you hit altitude units, you can change between inches and hectopascals. And you can see that here on the barometric pressure. All right, and that is going to be it for our PFD menu. Moving into CDI, just simply tapping the CDI will change the different navigation sources. So there's GPS, VOR1, VOR2, back to GPS. All right. ADF DME, this allows us to acquire an ADF source. Now, real briefly, the top rotary will, if you start rotating it, will change it. The bottom rotary will then change position. Once you have what you're looking for, press enter. Bottom rotary there can change the nav source, and it just goes back and forth between those two. Once you're here, you can press enter to swap it to active. Okay, and it will use the nav1 mode. All right, let's go ahead and swap it back to what it was for the default. And then just give it a quick tap when you're done editing and turn that off. Okay. Transponder, obviously everyone knows what the transponder is, but here's our current selected code. You have your on mode, altitude verification, and if you want to change your code, just go to code 5432. Notice you don't have to hit enter or anything like that. If you need to ident, just press the ident, hit back. If you're changing from IFR flight and going back into VFR rules, and you tell the tower adios, simply tap that VFR button there, it sets you back to 1200. All right, let's go ahead and go back. Timer and references. Here we have exactly what sounds like a timer, and it has the ability to clock up or down, and you have obviously your start, reset, and stop. Here we have our glide slope speeds, our rotation speed bugs, our it just means the aircraft speeding up. No, guess not. Sorry. We have our rotation speed bugs, our best rate of climb, and best speed for climb, your minimums in barometric, and our minimum designation. Now, real quick, it's really not complicated to set these. Again, give that a tap, selects it. Same principles before. Start rotating one. Okay, so if we want that just to be a flat number, use your big rotary to set where you want. So if we wanted 5 minutes, come over here. 5 minutes. Give that tap again. We hit enter here. Tap again. Move over up. Say we wanted to count down. Just hit down. Move over to start. Press enter. Clock a stop. Now reset. And if we need to move back, and just simply rotating it down once, notice sets it to 0. So we can press enter and move it down. Oh, sorry, there we go. Alright, so now if we want to turn our speed bugs on, you simply come over to the one you want. And actually first, you can come here and you can change the speed if you choose. Then on or off. Okay, if we want to turn our minimums on, give that a quick tap, goes to barrel. Set it for standard 200 feet here. There we go, give that a tap, done. Now turn the barrel off if you want. Give it a roll again. Just go to barrel is the easiest way. Turn it off the screen. Okay? Nearest gives you the nearest airport information. Now, obviously, there's a ton of these, but let me show you a quick one. One of the neat features about this is rapidly being able to access some of the comm frequencies. So, obviously, we're at KTUS, but let's say we want to talk to the Tucson Tower, right? So, we can scroll down here, and we just press enter. Notice that COM2 changed because we're selected on COM2. All right, but I can come up here, press enter again. Sets it to 118, then we just do a transfer. And if we wanted COM2, let's say we're going to Ryan. Okay, we can come down here, find Ryan Tower. There's Ryan Tower. Again, press enter. Got it, give it a transfer. We're live and talking. So that's kind of handy right there. The other thing that we can do, and you know what, actually I'll come back to that. I don't want to get confused anybody. All right, and then finally the alerts is just the alerts that the system may have for you. All right. Coming back up top here, obviously this was our comm channels. We saw that. The bottom rotary here on this guy here will change the barometric pressure. Oh, move the screen. So for any reason we need to change that. As I showed you guys earlier, we can change our course heading with the top rotary. But remember I told you if we are in GPS mode, that rotary doesn't do squat because it's getting its course information from the radio frequencies that's been selected. Alright, and then again, we saw the range cue. We'll zoom the map in and out. Give it a quick tap. And notice the blinking cursor. Put your mouse over any one of these white arrows and you can then pan around. Once you've done looking around, give that tap again. Centers it back on the aircraft. Okay, the menu button has different functionality based on what mode you're in. Okay, without anything else selected, tap in the menu button and you can change the brightness of your displays. Again, bottom rotary selects the one you want, top rotary makes the adjustment that you're choosing. Okay, so let's go back to 50. I like 50. Alright, and then give it a quick tap when you're done, menu off. Direct. This allows us to set a direct waypoint. Now, here's what's cool about this. Notice where it's getting its information. It says Ryan Field. So let's do this. Let's go to nearest. Notice we're still on Ryan. And let's say we want to go to 35AZ. Sure. Okay, I'll give that a quick tap. Let's go back to direct. Oh, I unchecked it, didn't I? Yes, I did. So let's go 35AZ. Let's hit enter. And then go to our direct. And now we've got it. Okay, so again, you come in here, press enter. Flight route activated. User to 35AZ, distance 17 nautical miles, bearing 175, etc., etc. And the nice thing about this is once you do that, you get it over here on the MFD as well, but we'll get over there in just a minute. All right, so that's a nice handy part about the direct is you can use your nearest airports. And it'll cycle through just about anything that's nearby. It's got quite a reach. I mean, it really isn't that much around Tucson, so this is pretty good. But I mean, it looks like you have about, I would guess, 25 nautical miles. This is what it looks like the reach there is. Okay. Well, actually, let's see. Looks like it's still going. Never mind. Goes away for that. Okay, so this goes for miles and miles. I'll shut my face up on that one. Holy mercy. Anyway, the other thing about direct is if you want to come up here, choose our rotary. And let's say we wanted to we wanted to go from here to Phoenix. Okay, we just start rolling. And we're going to go for KPHX, JK, bottom rotary to move it. Scrolling down. And then the second I go to H, or heck, even before then, you can see it's already starting to cycle through some of the airports that it knows. But we need to go all the way down to H. But for here, forward. There, yeah, next one down. KPHX, Sky Harbor. Again, press enter and activate. And now we're set there. Alright, so pretty cool information for the direct plan. Again, you can use the nearest. Just make sure you roll down, hit enter. Or you can enter it in the old-fashioned way. Same thing with the flight plan. You can see our flight plan has now been entered. Now, when we're in the flight plan information, we can come in here, hit our menu button, see the delete, go to delete, clears everything out. And then if we wanted to, again, there it goes. I knew I was missing something. And just start scrolling up again. So we could do the same thing. Okay, so we'll just we'll bring Phoenix back into this just so you can show you guys. It should just be the next one down. Alright, and we press enter, and bam, there we go. Okay? Now, obviously, we'd want to set in some other information, so let's come over here, which next would be our procedures. All right, so if we wanted to select an approach, we don't want to select the approach, back that out. Let's go back to procedures main menu. You want to select a departure. All right, so the ball D3, I don't need the ball D3. That's kind of nice. All right, so let's use one. The Kings 2. I guess we will use the ball D3. Looking for the Wildcat. Zephyr 2. Did I select departures? I did select departure, right? Oh, you know what that was? Shame on me. It thinks we're leaving Phoenix. That's why. Okay, so that was my bad. I want to show you guys correctly, so give me just a minute here. Let's go back. That was a shame on me. Oh, yeah, I selected rivals. Why did I do that? That was weird. So, procedures. Could have sworn I selected departure. Yeah, okay. So first I gotta tell it where we're headed, or where we are. So let's go back to flight plan. And let's do this. Let's try this one more time. I'll show you guys real quick. I wasn't gonna do this much, but what the heck. So let's go to flight plan. Hit enter. Hit the button. Start using our rotary. And so we're starting out at KTUS, right? So we're going to go forward. Go forward. Forward again. That one's easy. Hit enter. All right. And then we're going to do another one. And now you son of a gun. Okay. P. H. X. There we go. All right. Now we got it. All right. So we have KTUS in there. Now we got it. So now let's go to our procedures. And let's scroll on down and select our departure. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And so let's see here. Yeah, let's use the Wildcat. We'll hit enter. There's the Wildcat 3. Then we'll go back to procedures. And we'll select the approach. And we're not going to want the 7 left. Let's do 2-5 left. Press enter. Only got those two, huh? All right. All right, and then here we could set our minimums if we needed to. But those are activated later on, remember. Let's go back to our procedures. So we selected our approach. Now we just need to select the arrival. Excuse me. And the arrival... Oop, I can tell you right now that ain't it. Ping 1. Ah, I didn't hit enter. There are things like this that you really have to get in the habit. There we go. Of remembering to hit the right button to do the right thing. All right, so now, again, hit load. Like that. There we go. No, what am I doing? All right, I selected that. There we go. All right. And there, we have our flight plan in. All right. And so that's going to be pretty much it for this screen. Now, again, clear and enter, those are going to change based on what, obviously, menu option you're in. So let's go ahead and move from the PFD over to the MFD. All right. So now, dealing with the MFD, things are much simpler. Okay. So first off, you have your current ground speed, our desired track, our current track, for the waypoint selected, estimated time of arrival, and again, a lot of this information is the same. Here's our COM frequencies, our nav frequencies. Notice these are exactly the same. The only difference is this range button and panning button works for this map now. So for example, if we come over here, oops, and we can also see our route here, which makes it very handy. Okay. I was curious. I didn't realize I had bumped that first, so I was wondering if it was working without it. Anyway, so coming up here to our engine gauges, we have our engine RPM. Obviously, if you have multiple engines, you'll have more than one. Our fuel flow, oil pressure, oil temperature, exhaust temperature, vacuum pressure. Our fuel quantity, there's right and left tanks. And total hours on the engine and your electrical readouts, your bus, your volts, your battery, and your amps. All right, as far as the map options, you can turn on your topographical map. You can turn track up heading if you choose. I like it. So without it, north is up. But if you want the aircraft's nose to always be pointed up, and that, again, that's how I prefer it. You can turn your weather radar on or off. Terrain data stays on. Topographical map, again, up to you. And you have your current distance down here at the bottom. So we're currently seeing at 100 nautical miles. So that'd be quite a flight for a little Cessna 172. I probably wouldn't go all the way up to driver. Damn it. My throat is just driving me crazy today. Anyway, guys, so that is the short and sweet of the G1000. We're going to be doing a bunch of flights with it. Well, not a bunch, but quite a few. Enough where, you know, you guys will hopefully learn a few things here. And again, everything that I go over here will be in the guide for the G1000 step by step, just as you saw it here, just without as much goofing around as I was doing, since I can't clearly remember which buttons to hit when. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, folks.